Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Prepared. Today, we're talking Black Swan preparation. Oh, the doom and gloom of Black Swan prep. What's a Black Swan event? It's very simple. A Black Swan event is a surprise, it is an attack that we didn't see coming. It happens, and typically it's catastrophic. The Boston Marathon bombing, September 11th of 2001. Good examples. Now, a lot of people who hear this hear me talking about the border and how it's going to lead to further chaos in the country. Their first visceral reaction, if they're not prepared, is, why are you fear-mongering? And I get that insecurity. I get it. If you're not even willing to weigh the facts and maybe entertain the question, are you prepared for the worst-case scenario? I get it. Ego and arrogance together play a huge role in displacing us from preparedness and make us feel comfortable in complacency. I get it. The byproduct of freedom is complacency because it feels real good. Nothing's going on. When things do happen, are you prepared? On September 11th, for example, there were a lot of people that were not prepared. And a lot of people paid the ultimate sacrifice that day. Was a gentleman by the name of Rick Rescorla who didn't survive, but helped facilitate the survival of nearly 2,700 employees of Morgan Stanley. He was the head of security for Morgan Stanley, a Vietnam veteran himself, Silver Star recipient, an American hero. The thing with Rick is he understood the importance of preparedness because he was in the first attack that took place in the underground garage of the World Trade Center. He understood it because of his time in war and conflict. So he trained. He made his employees rehearse. He made them prepare. And what did that lead to? When the call came out to lock down in place, he knew what to do because he was prepared. And for that, people rapidly, but calmly, and nearly casually, because of the rehearsals, walked down the stairs and escaped and survived because of one man's efforts. So what I'm saying is, I don't want you to be fearful of this conversation. What I'm talking about as a Black Swan event in preparation is the same thing you would prepare for a more complex event in catastrophe. A great example would be a mass casualty caused by a natural disaster. Tornado ripped through your neighborhood. You didn't expect it. Were you prepared for it? If you weren't, things might not work out in your favor. If you were, then you could help people because you have the equipment to bear. You took the extra training and you understand how to operate under stress. Because a Black Swan event is just that. It's a complex attack where there are potentially higher levels of stress. And if you're prepared, you'll be able to manage that. If you're not, you won't. Last but not least, before we get into it, I will say there's not a lot of things that I could talk about here on this platform because I'll get suppressed. So the technical side of it, even showing you the thing, I can't do. It's why I have Patreon. It's why I have patrons who subscribe and support this channel. Without your support, I couldn't do what I do. So the first skill sets I want you to think about are situational awareness and also reducing your signature in public. I'm not advocating that you stay at home and don't go to the concert, don't go to the Super Bowl, don't go to these events. You know why people are more exploitable at events? Not because there's more people. Certainly that's a factor, but mostly it's because they're unarmed or disarmed. They depend on the institution for security. But the rest of the people are unarmed, so they're exploitable. That is where most likely you will see these events occur. It's like the Las Vegas shooter. If the Las Vegas shooter knew that he was going to be shooting into a crowd of people who were prepared, who were armed, he likely would not take an advantage and created as much casualties. So I'm not asking you to stay at home. I'm asking you to pay attention. I'm also asking you to implement contingencies in a plan, even if you're unarmed in public. With that being said, situational awareness is something very technical. We just had Yusuf Badu at a community conference, and also we're piggybacking some of his education on our app, the Fieldcraft Survival app. I'll be talking about it in detail on Patreon as well. But it's something that you could learn and implement in your everyday life. It's not just a concept or an idea. Next, I want you to think about being prepared and being prepared everywhere you are. Most certainly, your disposition, what you're wearing, where you are going to determine how much capability you potentially have via the training and equipment you have on person, or at least in arm's reach. I'm also not advocating you carry around a Cafaro rucksack full of equipment. But if you have the ability to carry more via the capacity you have, do so. A great example would be communications. If you have one radio in your vehicle, well, that's not enough. Your entire family should be tethered to radios, and you should have multiple redundant contingencies. The cell phone, the ham radio, the sat radio, the list goes on. Also, you should have it on hand. Like I have a silent Faraday bag. Why would you not put your communication devices in a silent Faraday bag and have them in a more robust package with the primary alternate contingency emergency, the PACE plan, lined out in your vehicle? Because you have the capacity, you have the space. Soon going to be doing a budget build with a 3500 Dodge diesel. You can get on Facebook Marketplace, at least a 12 valve for about 10 grand. I'm putting a Diamondback cover on it and doing some modifications, making it simple, stupid, but you could have the loadout capacity and capability via that vehicle. Say, for example, you have one of our 20-liter or 40-liter mobility bags. You could have this at your house. You could have this by your desk at your workplace. You could have this in your vehicle. If you have an organized way to keep all your gear, then you have more capacity for more capability. I talked about the communications. You could have that Faraday bag with all your comms stuffed into the blue pouch. If I take this red pouch, what is this? Well, it's something more robust than the tourniquet you carry on person. If I have the 40-liter version, which is bigger than this, well, again, that's more capability because now I could treat a mass casualty. This, at a minimum, in a 20-liter should be in your vehicle because if you're not prepared with the equipment to treat the injury, for example, in first aid, then you can't do anything, right? So communication, survival, potential self-defense weapons, all of these things need to be more robust. The pistol in your waistband is not necessarily going to get it done. It's why we'll talk about it in the Patreon side more in detail about why you should have a truck rifle. Next, I want you to think about the tactics that you will likely see. It's going to be more dynamic, which requires more dynamic skill sets. Shoot, move, communicate is just basic 7-8 field manual infantry tactics. It's the best way a team, a squad, a platoon could maneuver on the bad guy or maneuver away from the bad guy, breaking contact or making contact. It's basic principles that are called battle drills that every civilian should know. There are basic principles that I'll cover in detail, but it is very significant that you understand how to move with multiple people because that will be your tactical advantage. Next, expect a mass casualty event. Most catastrophic events, if you're not involved in the initial assault or attack, you're going to be dealing with a mass casualty event that you need to treat. Do you know how to triage? Do you not only know how to apply a tourniquet and stop the bleed, do you know how to apply a chest shield and needle decompress? So you have to be able to treat a complexity of trauma, not just stopping the bleed with a tourniquet. Take your combat casualty care class. Have a robust, not just personal tourniquet, a robust system and setup inside your vehicle and especially inside your home. It's one of the reasons we're having a first aid conference very soon so we can have you CPR certified, you stop the bleed certified, and understand what you need to do in a mass casualty event. Also, you need to make sure you have a robust communication plan. Most people neglect communications because it's not cool. Having this ham radio conference was an eye-opener. It's like, man, there's a lot of things to consider, a lot of things to weigh. What if your cell phone's not the infrastructure, but your actual cell phone is lost? How are you going to communicate? You can't just go to the Verizon store, especially if there's a catastrophe in that town. Those people are my Patreon members, and they're getting home to defend their families, where you should be. So if you don't have a PACE, primary alternate contingency and emergency plan, then you are not prepared. Last, but certainly not least, is have a community asset plan. Right now, ask yourself the question, are you linked into people who you trust to watch your kids? Who you trust to watch your kids when you're trying to get across the bridge because you're on the side where the attack took place and your kids are home alone. Have trusted assets in your own community you could rely on. It's why I started AmericanContingency.com, for you to connect. You need to build your own network. You don't need AMCON to do it. You could do it by inviting your neighbor over for dinner. Start building your own community assets the old traditional way, knocking on doors. I know it's scary. I know it's hard, but you have to do it. Guys, we haven't begun to even scratch the surface. This shouldn't be scary for you. It should be just awakening for you to go, man, there's some considerations there. There's some things that I need to pay attention to. And if you just do that, you'll be prepared as you continue to evolve in preparedness for that worst case scenario. I don't want to position this as the doom and gloom and fear monger. What I'm saying is this is going to set you up. Like mobility, I mean, building this 3500 Dodge Ram, this budget truck, these aren't advanced things. This is not just for the apocalypse. I mean, you could certainly use it for the apocalypse because you put like a four-wheeler on top of it, which is kind of cool. That's one of the reasons I'm doing it. But it's not just for the worst case scenario. It's for recreation. So my idea is, if you're building out a mobility rig for recreation to displace off-grid and self-sustain yourself and your family, well, man, aren't you just prepared? You are. So don't make it scary. Don't implement these changes in doom and gloom with your family because you won't get the buy-in. Take a step back and say, honey, I think we need to level up. I don't think I can get it done by myself. If there's multiple people, maybe we need the BCM. Maybe we need the robust first aid kit. Maybe we need the more detailed plan. That's all we're doing. We're leveling up. We're increasing our levels of preparedness, all in the name of being prepared for the disaster and the Black Swan event. I hope I haven't scared the hell out of you, because I don't want you to be scared. I want you to be on board. I want you to live a lifestyle of preparedness. It's an exciting world. It's fun. It's ways that you could bring your family together and disconnect from all the BS that you see on the news, all the BS that you see in social media. Man, out of all the things that we can unite on, let's unite on this. Guys, I appreciate you. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you supporting the channel and all the things that we do. I love you. Until next time. Peace out, guys.